It's the final day of the Tour of Taihu Lake with plenty at stake for the 100 riders on the start line for Stage 7. The race has taken the peloton to the garden city of Wuxi, the calming influence of Buddhism in Jurong, the ancient city of Jinhu, the lotus capital of China, and along the Yangtze River. It's a region of the country with a burgeoning economy and a reputation as a leader in science, technology and education. The last stage makes the trip to Shanxing, the home of silk and the land of fish and rice, finishing in Hoosier, which was visited last year by 107 million tourists. Just one day remaining of the 8 stages, 882 kilometres throughout the stage race. In fact, 808 kilometres. Kicking off the prologue, it was then onto the circuit in Binhu, the climbs on stage 2, the fast finish on stage 3, the circuit race throughout stage 4, and across the longest day on stage 5 yesterday, and it's just stage 7 today that remains. It all got underway in Wuxi with a 5.5 kilometre prologue, and it was the Kiwi Dylan Kennett who started as the pre-stage favourites, and he didn't disappoint. Riding for the St George Continental Cycling Team, he had a time of 6 minutes and 9 seconds, an average speed of more than 53 kilometres per hour. Sergei Chechkov was one of the challengers. He finished in 3rd position, 7 seconds off the pace. Mission accomplished for Kennett. The opening road stage, and it was on to Binhu, not too far away from where the prologue was hosted, and this was a stage of 85 kilometres. Despite the Grand Buddha and its calmness, it was a rapid start to the stage. The riders from United Healthcare, they were desperate to try and get themselves off the front and put some pressure on the leader's jersey. Amongst the first to attack, it was Chechkov, who was the 3rd place finisher in the prologue, as Kennett, for the first time in his career, found himself defending the leader's jersey in an international tour. It was then Alexander Cataford that was on the attack for United Healthcare. A crash just on 21 kilometres remaining. That slowed down the defending champion, Jakob Morocco, but the Italian got himself towards the front for the sprint finish. He was slowed down in heavy traffic, getting stuck behind the wheel of Wesley Creda, and it was then the Colombians doing battle at the front. Alzate in the blue colours, Milano in the pink, and it was Juan Sebastian Milano who got the victory. His teammate Para celebrating vigorously. Stage 2, Jurong, a course that has been used traditionally throughout the history of the Tour of Taihu Lake. 2 climbs, the same climb twice, with the sprinters up to the task. This was the day that had Dylan Kennett nervous, and rightly so. There was a crash early in the stage with the leader of the blue jersey classification, McGough, but then at the sprint, the first sprint point, it was Alzate who went over the top of the handlebars. Carlos Alzate, as a result of that, was on his way home, and the man that was also involved in that fall, Avila, was disqualified. Just over 1 kilometre to go on the stage, and Ben Hill tried his luck to see if he could get the better of the sprinters. He almost succeeded, but Hill was caught on the line, and in a photo finish, it was Milano getting the win ahead of Valet and then Martinez. For Valet, the 2nd place finish was enough to move him into orange. Stage 3, and it was into Jinhu, 88.5 kilometres. The lotus capital of the country, the King's Palace providing the backdrop to the stage starts. The traditional firing of the guns to get things underway, and the former race leader, Denny Lopez, was instantaneously on the attack. More falls, showing the desperation of riders to try and get themselves up at the front. Castillo, the Mexican from Jelly Belly, was involved in that one. A breakaway group of 4 at the front of the race almost stole the stage. Hill, again, was at the front. Moncassin was doing the chasing for Willia Tristina, one of the teammates of Jakob Morocco. The break through the final corner, 700 metres to go, and it was the Colombians doing the lead out for Milano, looking for number 3. But it was then Morocco taking a flyer from behind who got the win. Valet was in 2nd position for the 2nd day running. It was Milano in 3rd. Stage 4, and it was on to Jiangnan, a stage of 98.6 kilometres, with the statue of the 3 Buddhas overlooking the race. The Dragons at the opening ceremony to get the stage started. The swords were out, and so too was the aggression on the road. Unfortunately for the Kiwi Tom Hubbard, it didn't start too well. A slip of the gears, Hubbard over the top of the handlebars. A Superman fall for Lopez. He too remounted and made it back into the peloton. There was tension in the race as the battle was on for the red jersey as the leading Chinese rider. Liao and Liu locked together at just 1 second apart. The orange jersey of Valet was looking calm within the peloton, hoping to pick up a stage victory. But as the lead out got underway, it was Milano trying to do the job for Para, and then it was the Kiwi Kennett, the winner of the prologue, who showed that he's not just a one-trick pony. He won the sprint finish. Kennett ahead of Bonifacio with Lopez in third. Stage 5, and it was from Nantong to Haimen, and another day with a long journey in the saddle. This one, the longest of the race, 146.5 kilometres. Slightly calmer opening ceremony with dance being the major feature. The leaders' jerseys for each of the classifications always getting the privilege of starting at the head of the peloton. But then pretty quickly, the green jersey of Milano was happy to relax and go towards the back of the race. Number 91, Zhenping Liu got himself into the breakaway, picked up a time bonus at the third and final intermediate sprints to move himself into the lead for the race for the red jersey as the best Chinese rider. On Bell Lap, the peloton was all together and the sprinters were once again to have their day. Milano was playing a support role as there was a fall in the midway point of the peloton. None of the big favourites involved, but it did cause some nervous tension. Not so for Morocco. His lead out was one of perfection. Mosca was the man who opened it up. Morocco then slipped up the inside and made it look easy, winning, going away. It was Chima in second position with the Eritrean Tisfazion in third.
Yesterday, my mates worked hard, and today we stay in the peloton. So I'm happy for this victory. The guys in the final kilometers were perfect, so this is a good result for us.
Perfect result for Morocco and Tisfazion on the podium along with Chima. Stage 6, Wujiang, 116 kilometres. Begun firing to get them underway. It was a relatively calm start by comparison to the previous stages. Attempts to break away, and it was Nathan Earl who was awarded the most combative on the stage, but ultimately it came down to a sprint finish and a photo between the two Colombians. Para getting the nod ahead of Milano with Kennett in third place. The two Colombians at the top of the table, Jordan Para winning ahead of Juan Sebastian Milano, then Dylan Kennett in third place. And the Colombians were delighted as they celebrated post-stage. Wasn't such a happy ending though for Ben Hill, a nasty fall with 800 metres remaining on the stage. Leader of the best Chinese rider is Zhenping Liu. He leads by a split second ahead of Wan Yao Liao. That will come down to the time bonuses on the final stage. This is tight as well. The race for the green jerseys, just 1 point the advantage for Boris Valet ahead of Juan Sebastian Milano. It's Kennett then in third position. It's also tight the race for the blue jersey. Emilio Chima leads 5 seconds ahead of Cormac McGough. It's Remy Roche in third, followed by Shworvel in fourth. The one that matters the most, though, that is the orange jersey. It's Boris Valet in the box seat with a 15-second advantage over Ben Dybel and Alexander Cataford. Champagne, the conclusion of stage 6. Stage 7 remains. Can Valet hold on to orange? So this is it, the 7th and final stage. The peloton are just about set to roll out. There's 100 riders remaining in the race. It's 137.5 kilometres. This is a chance to take a look at the course, 137.5 kilometres. They do 2 laps of the starting circuit where they have the first of the intermediate sprints before they then make the right-hand turn. They head along the coastline, well, not quite the coastline, but alongside the lake, and then into another circuit the third of the intermediate sprints, and then down through the finish line. And that is where the last big decision will be made. One of the great initiatives of the Tour of Taihu Lake is the opening ceremony before the beginning of each stage, and it's an opportunity to celebrate the local cultures of all the various areas, and dance along with music, the drums, the percussions, they've played a big role in that. In the background, the big screen, you can see the images of Jakob Morocco having won 2 stages this year, and the pom-poms out in force. And on a concrete floor, that is impressive. The umbrellas out of some sort, the lily pads, we've seen lots of lotus leaves as well throughout the race. The dragon, of course, that always plays a role. And history meets technology. This is the head of sports administration. Changqing is located on the bank of the beautiful Taihu Lake. With its 34 kilometres of lake banking, Changqing is also the model base for cycling. We want to take this opportunity to promote the culture of cycling, as well as tourism and sports in general in this area. The sign-on, unfortunately for the Lubajangusto team, number 122, Ben Hill, a non-starter after the nasty crash yesterday. The Hong Kong team, they still have hope for the red jersey with Liao. He's locked together on equal time to count back in that one. The green jersey, at the moment, sitting on the shoulders of Milano, but he's 1 point behind in the race for that one. The riders from Eritrea, they have been enjoying themselves. This is Jakob Morocco, 17-time stage winner. Can he make it? 18 today. He is amongst the favourites. This is the team defending the red jersey. This is the Henjiao team. And they have the leader of the red jersey classification, Liu, who's amongst the riders who caught our attention before the stage got underway.
Yeah, with my team, we're going to make the control of the guys who can already keep and take my orange jersey. Then we will fight to keep everybody in the bunch and try to make some guys on the front who are interesting to go to take position, but not mine position.
Our coach is going to brief us on the team tactics, but our main goal is to keep the red jersey. Today we will encounter some strong winds, but I'll try to stay in the front of the peloton right throughout the race.
It's been the best tour this team has had here, with 2 stage wins and a 3rd place and 2nd overall at the moment. So yeah, everyone's really happy. Just have to hold on today and it'll be really good.
So I'm happy for this result with my team. We want to race, and maybe we try today to arrive for the sprint.
Tour's been great so far. Unfortunately, we lost one guy, but he got his collarbone repaired successfully, which is good. Other than that, we're still sitting good on GC, and hopefully today the plan is to try and keep that.
So those final nervous moments before the last stage gets underway. This is a look at some of the magnificent government buildings that we see in the CBD of Changqing. And this is a city with an economy that is booming. It's also grown significantly in terms of tourism, and the region are amongst the leaders in research in science, education and technology. The gun firing to get the stage underway, as is always the case. The leaders of the various classifications, they have themselves right at the front of the peloton. 121 riders started the race, and now with Ben Hill not signing on to start today's stage, we're down to 99 left. And this is the 8th day of racing, the 7th stage. It all got underway in Wuji with a rapid opening prologue where Dylan Kennett took out the stage. We heard from his teammate just a couple of moments ago, Ben Dybel, who himself has been very good, sitting in 2nd place overall at 15 seconds down. Amongst the early aggressors, the United Healthcare team with the experienced American Eric Marcotte. He's the rider that sits in 2nd spot, the dark blue colours. The oldest rider in the race at 38 years of age, and he is a chiropractor by trade. and he's going to continue racing next year. He hopes. He's working on which team he'll be riding for next year. He starts the final stage sitting in 15th position overall, but his teammate, Alexander Cataford, is in 3rd spot in the general classification. So United Healthcare hoping to keep Cataford at the very least on the podium, but looking for the early moves in an effort to try and collect a stage win. The XDS team of Beijing, they've been very good throughout this race. Active in the breakaways, they've had Andrei Kulik take a couple of top 5 finishes on stages. The light blue colours of the Dalco Marseille team, Robert Meyer, the young Frenchman on that squad, he's been very active throughout the race. We've seen him in a few of the breakaways so far. The best result they've had in terms of a stage was a 3rd place finish for their elder statesman, Yannick Martinez, who was coming towards the end of his career by comparison to Robert Meyer, who's just starting out. Quick start to the stage with plenty of riders trying to get themselves into the breakaway. It has been the story of the race so far. Super fast starts as the sprinters sit back, relax, and they just watch things unfold until the race settles down. And at the back of the peloton, number 176 once again, this is Ralph Monsalve, still nursing that damaged left hand. Spectator numbers have been very good throughout this year's race. We've seen lots of the locals on the side of the road, scattered all the way along the course, but not surprisingly, particularly at the finish line. The yellow and the black colours of the Lubijana Gusto team, a team that has seen Ben Hill in multiple breakaways. Hill getting caught on stage 2 with 40 metres to go. The following day he was caught with 600 metres to go. Ever aggressive Ben Hill, but unfortunately a non-starter today. 12 months on from when Hill broke his back in the Tour of Hainan and ended up spending an extra 7 weeks in China. Early attempts to try and break away, also looking to try and move across. Cormac McGough in the Jelly Belly colours. The rider that was the leader of the Best Young Rider classification, he's now slipped to 2nd position there. He sits at 5 seconds behind Emerio Cima, the Italian rider with the Nippo Vini Fantini team. The landscaping along the major roads as well. The nature strips are stunning. Plenty of green, there's lots of water in the region. Quite a bit of rainfall as well, but the weather throughout this race, it could not have been better. Number 152 at the back of the race for RTS Racing, that is Batchakan. He's one of the 2 riders remaining on that team in this race, both of them hailing from Mongolia. Number 35 that you can see in the picture in the pink colours of the Manzana Postobon team, that is Jordan Parra. He was the winner of the stage yesterday. Number 4, that is Denny Lopez. He's had 2 third-place finishes so far. He's been good, but not quite the stage victory. That has proved to be elusive so far for the Spaniard. Huzhou is a city with more than 2,300 years of history. It's also the only city in Taihu Lake in the region that takes its name from the lake itself, and is the home of silk and has a rich culture. Looking down upon the peloton as they are strung out. This is the 7th and final stage, the 9th edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake, as they make their way through to Wuxing for the final destination in this year's race. A wonderful tourist destination where last year saw more than 107 million visitors come to the town to enjoy everything that it has to offer. 2 teams at the front controlling what is a breakaway group of 2 riders at the head of the race. The team's not surprisingly doing the chasing. The yellow and blue colours, this is the Wanty Group Goubert team. This is a team that for the past 2 years has ridden the Tour de France. They're a team that arrived here with high expectations that they would be the men to beat. And they have Boris Valet in the box seat wearing the orange leader's jersey. This is the breakaway, sitting in second position here, number 101. This is Ulysses Castillo, riding for Jelly Belly. And number 192 is Daniel Habdi-Michael from the Eritrean national team. Castillo, number 101. He's the best placed in the overall classification from this breakaway. He sits at 3 minutes and 34 seconds down overall. Habdi-Michael at the front, he's a lot further behind. He's at 17 minutes and 36 seconds down. Habdi-Michael conceded most of that time on stage 2. A reaction now coming from the Israel Cycling Academy team. Team that lost their sprinter on stage 2 when Edwin Avila was disqualified from the race. Hamish Shuras has also abandoned the race with injury. And this looks like the stocky figure of Daniel Turek or Tyler Williams. We'll just wait a moment for confirmation, but both those riders are well placed in the overall standings. This is the Hoosier Olympic Sports Stadium. Shaped as a lily, which is not surprising given the amount of lily pads that we see throughout this area. And in May of 2017, the stadium was passed as an IAAF Level 1 venue, collecting that certification, and it has seating for some 40,000 spectators. In addition to tourism, this is a region that is becoming ever popular for sport, as it's Williams who is at the front for the Israel Cycling Academy, trying to get himself away from the main field. Williams is the best placed rider from the Israel Cycling Academy team. He sits at 22 seconds down in the general classification and is in 5th position overall. This is the sort of move that should be catching the attention of Wanty Group Goubert and the riders supporting the race leader, Boris Valet. And now the challenge for Williams is that settling into the rhythm. This is a look back at the first of the intermediate sprints. Habdi-Michael attacked with around about 600 metres to go. And then Castillo got himself into the box seat, sat the wheel of the Eritrean, just waited patiently. That yellow sign you see on the right, that is 200 metres to go to the sprint point. 5 points up for grabs in terms of the race for the green jersey. And 3 seconds, the time bonus for the first rider across the line. Habdi-Michael checking underneath the legs, waiting for the inevitable move to come from Castillo. And the Mexican quickly over the top. More importantly, behind them was the sprint for the minor placings. Castillo, as soon as he went through, though, he maintained the momentum. He didn't sit up. He said, OK, let's work well together. Then in the sprint for third place, it was Juan Sebastian Milano who got third, just ahead of Dylan Kennett. That third place finish giving him 1 point in the race for the green jersey, which locks him together at the top of the leaderboard with Boris Valet. They are both on 51 points apiece. One of the many exceptional bridges that we see throughout this region. Lots of rivers to be able to cross. Peloton not going across that one today. They go underneath it. Numerous open parklands. Well, they really do encourage plenty of physical activity, and it's a part of the country that boasts some of the cleanest air in China and also some of the longest life expectancies. Inside the last 70 kilometres in this, the 9th edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake, it is stage 7. Pink colours at the front, that's the team of Manzana Postobon. We rejoin the breakaway now to an advantage of 1 minute and 23 seconds. The biggest advantage they've had throughout today's stage was a smidgen over 1 minute and 50 seconds. And in fact, that is the biggest margin we've seen from any breakaway in this year's race. And they are approaching the second of the intermediate sprints. This is Habdi-Michael sitting at the back now, playing a slightly more patient hand, waiting. Castillo checking across the shoulder. Habdi-Michael still waits. Now he goes. Castillo, has he got the horsepower to be able to respond? This will be tight. Habdi-Michael on the right gets the points just in front. And Habdi Michael, again, going straight through to the front and maintaining the rhythm for these two. That is smart riding. They have those little battles at the intermediate sprints, and then they get back on with the job of trying to maintain their advantage over the peloton. This is Williams. He now will be sliding through to collect 3rd place, and a little time bonus for Williams. That moves him no further up the general classification, but he's now just a little closer to a spot on the podium. He goes from 7 seconds off the podium to 6 seconds off the podium. Tyler Williams making progress. Habdi Michael in 2nd position. Interesting sprint position up on the brake levers. You normally sprint down to the drops of the handlebars. This is a sign of a little bit of a lack of experience from Habdi Michael. He is only 21 years of age, but he has got plenty to offer. That is some horsepower, because Castillo, particularly racing in North America, has proven himself to be quick. And Tyler Williams, the American from the Israel Cycling Academy, consolidating 3rd place in the 2nd of 3 intermediate sprints on today's stage. And the points allocation, Habdi Michael collecting 5 points, 3 points for Castillo, 1 point for Williams. Peloton still under the guidance of Wanty-Group Goubert and Manzana Postobon. 3 stage wins for Manzana Postobon in this year's race, out of 6 sprint finishes so far. That is an impressive strike rate. And they are in the box seat today. Will it be Milano or will it be Para on this occasion? Milano contested the first of the intermediate sprints in the race for the green jersey, and that's the first time we've seen him contest one of the intermediate sprints. Up until that point, he's just been collecting his points in the race for the green jersey as a result of winning a couple of stages, 2nd on the stage yesterday. And he has spoken about not being too interested in green, but now, with just this the final day, clearly he is. So for Manzana Postobon, do they work today for their safer bet, Juan Sebastian Milano, or is it Jordan Para once again who gets the protected role? Decisions for team management to play out. Williams now, with collecting that 1 second time bonus, he surrenders and he heads back to the peloton. The 23-year-old American, whose best result so far in his career is a 3rd place finish on a stage of the Tour of Alberta. Nice and calm at the rear end of the peloton. Plenty of spectators once again on the side of the road. Nice way to spend a Sunday morning, as it is local time here. It's just gone 10 o'clock local time. Wanty-Group Goubert at the front of the peloton. This is Jasper Delet, who is on the front for them. He and Marco Minar have been the 2 workhorses early on each stage so far. Wesley Creeder and Mark Mcnally have been the 2 riders with the responsibility to support Boris Valet inside the frantic final kilometre. Number 194 sitting down towards the back, that is Med Breton from the Eritrean national team. Wanty-Group Goubert setting the tempo for the orange jersey of Valet. Huzhou is located to the southwest bank of Taihu Lake, and with its government buildings and the Ringhong Mountain in the background, it's a combination of natural beauty and a thriving economy. It's the train station as well. With the location of this town, it's courtesy of the bullet train. It's a very short ride into Shanghai, and it is a key stopping point on the way for many of the tourists that want to enjoy the region. The train station was built in 2010. That's when the construction started, and it was efficiently put into use in 2013. Viaduct appearance of the train station. The structure itself here at the station is almost 9,000 square metres. And getting the timing right for the schedule, there is one of the bullet trains. And with the bullet at the front, Jakob Morocco will be one of the favourites to win the stage today. He has proven himself yet again this year, despite the fact he hasn't been as good as what he was in 2017. Still to be the fastest when he gets a clear run at the finish line. His victory on stage 5 to Heymen in particular was very impressive. Number 91, you can just spot in the midway point of the peloton. That's the man wearing the red jersey, Jianping Liu. He is the leader of the best Chinese rider classification. Ulysses Castillo Soto is the rider at the front, 101, riding for Jelly Belly. Daniel Habti Michael is the man who is just behind him. Castillo is normally a rider that we expect to wait for the back end of a stage, put himself in a position to be able to win in a sprint finish. But he's had a difficult Tour of Taihu Lake this year. He's been involved in at least 2 crashes that we've seen on camera. He hasn't had the sprinting speed of 12 months ago. So now, the 26-year-old Mexican, he's looking for the breakaways to try and impress, as he's also yet to confirm a contract for 2019. The road surface throughout this race really has been impressive. In fact, when we were making the journey through after yesterday's stage down towards the finish line for today's stage, they had the street sweepers out early. They were blasting the roads with water, making sure everything was clean. And throughout this race, to highlight how good the road surface has been, I think we've seen a total of no more than 5 punches. Unfortunately for the Eritreans, it was on stage 4 where they were in with a chance to win with Natnil Tesfazion, where he punched at just 6 kilometres to go. He still managed to return to the peloton and finish in 21st position on that stage. Outstanding efforts. Now, the breakaway group of 2 on the left-hand side of the screen, they have been the shining light of the stage so far. They went off the front, having covered just on 15 kilometres, building up an advantage of almost 2 minutes at one point. Now it's Wanty Group Goubert who have them not in their sights, but under control at 1:17. Two leaders making their way past one of the tourist destinations here. Peloton about to head on through, where we see lots of the old villages that have been revitalised, recaptured, being able to educate the next generation about the way life used to be, whilst embracing the way life is today. Destination today, a town with a history of more than 2,300 years. Peloton not quite in single file. They are strung out at the front of the field, but sitting a little bit further back, you can see the way they're still reasonably bunched up. That's a clear indication that they're not going full gas at the front. With just 2 riders having broken away, the strength in numbers at the rear, and still with a few of the stronger teams yet to contribute anything to the chasing. In particular, the colours that you saw at the back, that was the Willia Tristina team, the teammates of Jakob Morocco. Huzhou is a town that saw more than 107 million tourist visitors here last year. Lots of local tourists as well as international tourists making their way through. And hopefully we get some aerial shots of the finish line as they make their way alongside Taihu Lake. It is gorgeous. Wonderful looking hotel at the finish line as well. Meanwhile, 176, Mcnally still sitting at the back of the peloton, as he has done since stage 2 when he crashed heavily. And the final day, the crowd is out in force. These are the biggest numbers that we've seen on the side of the road so far throughout this year's race. This is Jakob Morocco, key lead-out man for Morocco. He did a brilliant job on stage 5 when Morocco won comfortably. Up at the top of the mountain, this looks like the Imperial Palace of Emperor Chen Wu, which we're getting a chance to take a look at. Minute and 17 seconds, the advantage for the breakaway group. Population here growing at a rapid rate, as you can see by the urban development as well as the many buildings that we see scattered throughout for obviously government, lots of government buildings, so too lots of research done in this area into science and leaders in technology. Back of the peloton, the Beijing XDS team, that is Zodtov, Evgeny Zodtov at the rear of the group. Team that's tried a few times to get into the breakaways. The Russian rider is 24 years of age. Meanwhile, our breakaway group of 2, their lead is slowly being chipped away at. Castillo at the front. When he did crash on stage 4, somehow he managed to bounce straight back up again as if he was made of rubber. No signs of the damage from that fall. Michael is there with him from Eritrea. The team that traditionally we go to races and we expect them to be climbers, but this man here now taking his vest off, number 195, that's Natniel Tesfazion. He's had 2 top 5 finishes on stages so far this year, including a 3rd place finish. Modern buildings off to the right, plenty of lily pads to the left. The stage that took us into Jinhu on stage 4, that was the stage where we rode through the national capital of the lily pad and the lotus leaf. Number 133 from the Giant cycling team, sitting towards the back. This is Jinsung Liu. He looked as if he either had a mechanical problem or a small fall early on in today's stage. His nicks are just slightly torn on his right leg, and we did see him earlier in the stage having to do some chasing to rejoin the peloton. Right in the pink colours at the front, this is Osorio from Manzana Postobon. And the race leader, Boris Valet, in orange. Taihu Lake and its capital land, along with its amusement park, are amongst the huge tourist attractions here in the region, and combining the wonderful hotels, the resorts and the shopping as well. It's no surprise that they had more than 100 million visitors in 2017. Stage 7 of the Tour of Taihu Lake. This is the 8th and final day. Breakaway group of 2 up the road with an advantage of 1 minute and 31 seconds. One of the teams that has really delivered throughout this race is the St. George Continental team. They took out the opening stage victory with Dylan Kennett. That was the prologue. He had the leader's jersey. Kennett then won yet again on stage 4, and Ben Dybel is sitting in second place overall. Unfortunately for one of their riders, the Kiwi, Tom Hubbard, he was off the bike early on one of the previous stages. He's now out of the race, but the good news is he's with us. Tom, what a race it's been for your squad.
Yeah, for us it's been really good, and we've achieved everything that we've set out to achieve so far, and today's a big day for us. If we can move Dylan up and keep Ben in second, that'd be amazing.
For a guy like Ben Dybel, a pure climber, to be sitting in second place overall on a race that is really tailor-made for the sprinters shows how good his form is.
Yeah, I was very impressed with his ride in the prologue. He's so lean, and to be able to produce that power on the flat, that was very impressive.
One of the things that I really enjoyed was on stage 1, the circuit race around Ben Hu, was to see somebody as skinny and a natural climber like Ben Dybel wearing the green jersey as the leader of the points classification.
Yeah, we had a bit of a joke in the team about who would take it off him, because I'm pretty sure the other 5 of us would beat Ben in a sprint, but yeah, it was all good fun.
This is the Manzana Postobon team at the front in the pink colours, the Colombians. They've got 2 favourites for the stage today. It could either be Milano, who wears the green jersey, has equal first in the race for the points classification, or Jordan Parra, who won yesterday. What do you think their strategy will be?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It was nice to see Milano help his teammate get the victory yesterday, because obviously he's moving on to UAE, bigger and better things, and it's always nice to see a rider like that give back to his team. I think that because the green jersey is so close, they'll probably back Milano today.
And with 15 seconds advantage for Boris Valet, the hopes of Ben Dybel being able to get the better of him are 1,000,000 at best. But can you see anybody getting over the top of Boris Valet today?
I don't think so. Wanty's a class team, and they've ridden well all week. It'd be a big surprise for the top 3 to change.
This is Milano, who you mentioned before, the rider in the green jersey. He's moving on to one of the biggest teams in the world next year. How important is this race for the development of a young guy, 23, 24 years of age, to take that next step?
Yeah, it's the same for Moretsko as well. They're both moving up to the World Tour, and having raced with them the last few years in Asia, they've dominated the sprints. So for us, it's interesting to watch and see how they compete at the top of the sport.
Now, Wanty Group Goubert, a team that has ridden the Tour de France this year, but for a guy like you and a chance to ride against teams that have ridden the Tours of France, Italy and Spain, good for your own development.
Yeah, it's good, and obviously we've got Dylan here, and at breakfast this morning, the top tier teams are actually looking at Dylan, and they're impressed with what he's done this week. So it's a good stepping stone it's a job interview every day. You know, these teams are looking, and the guys like Ben Dybel and Dylan Kennett, they're ready to take the next step. So it's just some days you get the breaks and some days you don't.
Here's our breakaway group of 2. Number 101, Castillo at the front. Second position, 192, that's Habdi Michael. They've got an advantage of 1 minute and 33 seconds, but on a day like this that's going to be so fast in the final 15 kilometres, their chances are really slim.
Yeah, especially they're heading out towards along the lakefront now, and it could be very exposed. The stage last year there's a lot of nerves in the bunch, and it could quite easily split. It's windy out there today, so you never know.
This is somewhat of a surprise. This is at the front of the peloton now, Alacorn, a Colombian rider for the Hainan Jilun team. This is a team that only has 2 riders remaining in the race. They have Yul Jiang also in the peloton. He has no chance of winning the stage. I'd make the assumption that the Colombians have had a conversation with him. You spoke about job interviews, and he's trying to impress the men in the pink colours to hope that he can support his compatriots and maybe get a spot on that team next year.
Yeah, it does look that way. He's probably got another 54k to go on the front for that job interview to go well, but he's in the right place now.
You spoke just before about Dylan Kennett and other teams here taking some interest in him. I think one of these teams like Wanty Group Goubert or any of the Delco Marseille, any of those teams that get the wildcard invitations to the big races, they'd be mad not to sign him. He'd be the Moneyball style signing.
Yeah, like he obviously hasn't got the experience in Europe, but he has the horsepower, and that's what they see in him. There's a huge question mark about how far he can go.
His performance in the opening prologue with an average speed of 53 kilometres per hour was outstanding. He then spoke himself down regularly, saying, I don't have the bunchcraft. But he's won a bunch sprint finish, and yesterday he was third in a photo. You could have thrown a tablecloth across them at the finish line. It was super tight. Minute and 40 seconds now, the advantage for the breakaway group. We're down to 99 riders remain in the race. The black and yellow colours, the Ljubljana Gusto team at the back. Ben Hill yesterday, another nasty fall for Ben Hill. He's a non-starter today.
Yeah, that's a real shame. Ben Hill's a great guy, terrific bike rider, and I didn't see the accident yesterday, but it sounds really bad.
So 53.7 kilometres remaining. Our leading two riders getting their advantage back out to 1 minute and 46 seconds. This is the Wetland Park, not too far away from the heart of town. Another one of the many tourist attractions here. Home of the Honeymoon Flower Field. Now 2 leaders and almost getting back out to a 2-minute advantage. Jakob Morocco at the front, Castillo in second spot. The Jelly Belly team now coming up to the front. This is a team, Tom, that has been in the peloton for 18 seasons. They're looking for a new sponsor for next year. I hope they can somehow keep going.
Yeah, like you just hope that someone comes along late. It's getting late in the year, but it's sad to see teams like that struggle to find sponsors because they do a great job.
As for you, sitting here in the commentary box with me, I know it's not where you want to be. You'd much rather be out there. We saw the crash. What happened?
I'd probably say rider error, like maybe just changing gears out of the saddle. I've ridden a lot, raced for more than 10 years, and I've never seen that, so it's a bit of a freak accident.
It looked like one of those falls where your ego was as hurt as what your body was, and maybe a slight slip of the gears. 1 minute and 52 seconds, the breakaway group of 2 with 52 minutes remaining on the final stage of this year's edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake. Plenty of construction underway. You can see lots of buildings going up all over the place, tourist attractions as well as apartment blocks, office blocks as well. Lots of rivers making their way through, but the main one, of course, is the Zhangji River. This is the movie town, Hujiang movie town, that we're now getting a chance to take a look at. This is where many of the movies and the TV shows in China are shot. It's famous for its replica of the Bund in Shanghai and Cathedral Square. You rode this race last year, Tom. Was this your second time in the race?
Yeah, that's right.
And what do you make of the difference of this edition compared to last year, which was last year it was dominated by Jakob Morocco?
Yeah, the sprints are more fiercely contested. They look at the Eritrean guy that's up the road now. That's a team that 12 months ago were just here to make up numbers, and then now we've been very impressed with how much they've improved, and they're prepared to attack and get amongst it.
What's been really impressive for me from them, I look at Eritrea on the start line, and if it's Eritrean riders that I've never seen before, I'm just anticipating that they'll be good climbers. But they've been sprinting really well, which has been really impressive. To have Natniel Tesfazi on, he finished in 3rd place on stage 5. He's had a 4th place and a 5th place finish. That's quality. Yeah,
he's been very consistent, and they're just not afraid to have a go, and the amount they've improved, that's impressive.
This is one of them now, number 192, Jakob Morocco. He's just 21 years of age. He was 5th in their national championships last year. He rode this race as well last year when he finished in 20th position overall. This is my first time on this tour. What has stood out to me has been the quality of the road surface.
Yeah, it's fast.
But really quick. Most of the stages, the average speeds have been somewhere between 46 and 48 kilometres per hour.
Yeah, watching on the TV, you probably don't appreciate the speed of the bunch because it's wide roads, but they're certainly moving quickly.
Hardly any need for the small chainring in this race.
Yeah, some of the guys probably take it off.
I noticed one of the riders from the Delco Marseille team, it looked like he had a 53 tooth chainring and perhaps a 46 or a 44. It was pretty big.
Yeah, he would have only used the 46 on stage 2.
Monte Group Goubert at the front. This is Marco Menard now, who is at the front of the peloton. The 29-year-old Dutchman on this Belgian team, doing all they can to protect the leader's jersey, the orange jersey of Boris Valet. Boris Valet searching for his first victory since 2016. Taihu Lake and the resort is a place to switch off and enjoy some yoga, to get in the right frame of mind for a holiday. It's also the home of Movie Town, another one of Huzhou's many tourist attractions. Well, just inside 50 kilometres remain on the final stage of the 9th edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake. The breakaway of 2 out to an advantage now of 1 minute and 47 seconds. I'm joined in commentary by the Kiwi, Tom Hubbard, who rides for the St George Continental Cycling Team. 2-stage victory so far, 1 prologue, 1 sprint finish. Dylan, can he win today?
We hope so. He's 9 seconds off the podium, but if he could pick up 4 seconds, he moves into a top 5, which would be a great result for St George.
This is a look back at the stage so far. The gun going to get the race underway with the leaders of the various classifications at the front. Boris Valet, the leader overall, the green jersey with Juan Sebastian Milano, the blue jersey with Chima, the Italian rider for Nippo Vini Vantini, and the red jersey with Jianping Liu. The top of the Chinese classification, that's separated by 1/10 of a second. The bullet train, we've had a chance to see that throughout the stage as well. The infrastructure here is exceptional. Breakaway group of 2 form in early in the stage. Castillo in the white colours from Jelly Belly. Habdi Michael in the yellow and red colours from the Eritrean national team. They've managed to build themselves up a lead of almost 2 minutes. They ventured across the famous bridge, which is the Beilong Bridge, and long representing dragon flying. And it's meant to look like a dragon, the famous Chinese dragon, and that's what this bridge represents. And if you do get the wide shot of it from a helicopter, it does look very much like a dragon, which we've seen on multiple occasions at the opening ceremony of the various stages. The orange jersey started with the vest on over the top because it was a fraction chilly this morning, but Boris Valet, under the support of the Wanty Group Goubert team, has looked so composed right from the moment he took that leader's jersey at the conclusion of stage 2. Coming to the first of the intermediate sprints, it was Habdi Michael who led out. He got the jump early on Castillo, but he went a little bit too soon. And then it was Castillo who showed a clean pair of wheels straight over the top of Habdi Michael and collecting 5 points in the race for green and a 3-second time bonus. Importantly, back in the main peloton, it was Juan Sebastian Milano who for the first time got involved in the intermediate sprint. He won the sprint for 3rd, collecting 1 point, so he now moves to equal first in the race for green, 51 points apiece with Boris Valet. Onto the second sprint, Castillo found himself at the front of the white colours. It was then Habdi Michael who waited patiently and popped over the top for the win. Showing plenty of finishing speed, the Eritrean. And then behind them, it was Tyler Williams, the American from the Israel Cycling Academy, who had broken away from the peloton, and he collected 3rd position. That time bonus consolidating his spot, for now at least, inside the top 5 in the general classification. There's confirmation of those results with Habdi Michael ahead of Castillo and then Tyler Williams. Back live with just on 47 kilometres to race. Habdi Michael, number 192, he's just 21 years of age. He showed his inexperience in the 2 intermediate sprints, but at the same time his horsepower. It was strange to see him sprinting on the brake levers as opposed to in the drops of the handlebars.
It's not normally the fastest way to sprint, but it worked for him there.
What are your plans for next season? You're continuing with this team?
Yeah, at this stage, that's the plan. Go back to Sydney on Tuesday. We're home for a week, and then some of us head to the Tour of Southland, which is a big race for the Kiwis. Then we have Tour of Guangzhou Bay back in China a week later, and Tour of Fuzhou to finish up the season. So China stuff.
A lot of travelling too.
Yeah, we're incredibly lucky to be able to do what we do. And Brett Dutton, the manager, he's very supportive and makes sure that home life's good as well. It's not just always about the team. He makes sure we have everything in place to be able to perform.
He's impressive as a team manager, but he was impressive as an athlete, Brett Dutton, a bronze medalist at the Olympic Games. I'm sure he's told you about that.
Oh, he doesn't really, but
he's quite humble, isn't he?
Yeah, very, very. And but a lot of people in the club, they do say how he has the records for this time and that. And yeah, he was obviously a super rider.
He was world class, and he's doing a brilliant job as the team manager for the St George Continental Cycling Club. It really is the Anzac team. It's Kiwis and Australians.
Yeah, we've outnumbered the Aussies here, and
you have too.
Yeah, the league test yesterday, the Kiwis got up, so there's a bit of talk about that back in the hotel.
Very good. Didn't do the haka beforehand to psych them out.
No, the 4 Kiwis here, we're not into that.
There's our breakaway group of 2. They're doing well. Habdi Michael at the front, Castillo at the rear of the group. They're still holding on to that advantage. 46 kilometres to go. It's only really 2 teams chasing. Manzana Postobon with the green jersey of Milano, who's already won 2 stages. And the teammates of the overall race leader, Wantegroup Goubert, with the orange jersey of Boris Valet. Do you expect to see the Willia Tristina team to come to the front, perhaps with 15 or maybe 10 kilometres to go to support Morocco?
Yeah, I think the Italians will be supporting Morocco. The break will last, you'd think, till 10k to go, but if the wind picks up, it could come back very quickly.
Who's your favourite to win the stage?
Kennett.
Dylan Kennett. Okay, you have to take your teammate out of it. Outside of your teammate, let's put it this way. Who's your favourite to finish second behind Dylan Kennett?
Milano.
Milano. I'm with you on that one. 1 kilometre to the 3rd and final intermediate sprints. Today is the first time that we've seen Milano contest any of the intermediate sprints. He's just been playing the patient hand, trying to win a stage. And then it was outstanding the way for a few days. In fact, 3 days running, he was working for Para to make sure his teammate got a stage victory. That was really selfless. Yeah,
that's cool. And I think today they'll go back to Milano just because of how tight their sprint competition is.
And he's a safer bet. He is quicker than Para.
Yeah, and he just seems to be so strong. Like most sprinters can sprint for 200 metres. Milano has that extra 100, I think. He's sort of 300 metres.
Inside 1 kilometre to go to the 3rd and final intermediate sprint. It will certainly be either of these two who get the maximum points. Habdi Michael, followed then by Castillo. The challenge in this situation for the breakaway, Tom, is contesting the sprint, but not disrupting the rhythm too much.
Yeah, so far it's 1-1, so I guess the winner of this one gets the bragging rights for the day.
Best of 3 sets.
Yep.
Habdi Michael at the front. Castillo clearly wants the points because this is still a long way to go to the sprints, and the Mexican is not going to the front. That's the 200-metre marker. He's leaving it late. Habdi Michael now is onto the drops. Castillo laying off so he can get a little bit of a run at Habdi Michael and try and catch the Eritrean by surprise. Now he goes, and Habdi Michael has missed the move. Castillo with that jump, 50 metres worth of acceleration, 5 points in the bag in the race for the green jersey. That was experience that got the job done on that occasion.
Yeah, that was he played his cards perfectly there.
And now the challenge for these two is to maintain the rhythm, and Castillo, as soon as Habdi Michael has caught him, he's back hard on the pedals to make sure they don't concede much of that 1 minute and 37 second advantage. The jump here was impressive from Castillo. Caught him by surprise, and then Habdi Michael had no chance of being able to respond. And across the finish line, and quickly checking across the shoulder to make sure the gap's not too big so they can start working once again. And this is your man. This is Dylan Kennett slipping off the front, collecting a 1 second time bonus. In terms of the general classification, that moves Dylan up into 6th position overall, a step closer to a top 5 finish.
Yeah, that was the plan in the meeting last night. Dylan's been going for the intermediate sprints, not only to help himself in the overall classification, but to protect Ben's 2nd place, Ben Dybel. So he's done a great job for us.
So making sure that Catafor doesn't collect any of those points. Here's confirmation. Castillo in 1st position, Habdi Michael in 2nd spot. It was then the Kiwi, Dylan Kennett in 3rd. I'm joined by Dylan's teammate, Tom Hubbard, and the team. This has to be one of your best results for the season. You've had dominant performances in some smaller races, but a race of this scale?
Yeah, it's huge. We targeted this, and the reason we brought Dylan into the squad was for the prologue. So if we just went home with the prologue victory, we would have been satisfied. And Ben Dybel's always consistent, so if he put in a good ride in the prologue, we knew he'd be up there contending for the overall. And for him, there he is moving up. For him to be 2nd overall in a Sprinters Tour, it's great.
It's a fantastic result for Ben Dybel. He's got the darkish pink colours and the black, and you just see just poking out a pitch on the right-hand side. He wears the orange shoes. There he is with the white helmet, the orange shoes, making it easy to spot him. He would like to talk with the organisers, I'm sure, to change the format of stage 2 and finish at the top of the hill. Yeah,
that would suit him down to the ground. We're lucky to have him. He's a world-class climber. I'm surprised no one's taken him on. Like he's got the talent to be up there, maybe 10th, or he'd be around the top 10 in a Grand Tour. I think he's that good.
Yeah, he took a record off Chris Froome recently in the Snowy Mountain Range down near Mount Kosciuszko in New South Wales in December of last year. And although Chris Froome, when he rode that climb, he wasn't at his absolute best, Chris Froome at 80% is world class.
Yeah, you did right.
So it really does tell the story of Ben Dybel. This at the front is Osorio. This is Juan Felipe Osorio from the Manzana Postobon team. We've seen a lot of him throughout today's stage. Back of the peloton, 103. That is Cormac McGough, the former leader of the Best Young Rider classification. He now sits in 2nd position in that competition. He's 5 seconds behind Emilio Chima, who wears the blue jersey as the leader. It's one of those races where I imagine it's reasonably easy at this point of the stage just to be sitting in the peloton, and a little bit difficult to try and stay up the front because it is so fast, as we see a look up at the helicopter and now down from the helicopter. It must be so hard to get into a breakaway in this race.
Especially if you're up on the GC trying to contest for the overall. You've got guys who are 2 spots behind you, 2 spots in front of you, watching you, because everyone's trying to pick up the intermediate sprints to move up in the overall.
And this is the easy way to get across to the breakaway. Jump on the chopper and just move across that 1 minute and 40-second gap. It looks so easy on television, Tom.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you were that strong.
What's the communication like in the peloton with 10 kilometres to go on a day like this where it's all at stake, particularly for a guy like Dylan, to try and win the stage and potentially move up a few places?
10 kilometres to go, it starts to get a little bit, you need to be where you want to be with 10k to go, but you don't want to be on the front because you'll run out of guys. Sort of 5k to go is when it starts to, you're jostling for position, and it's really serious then, and sort of 3k to go is when you really want to hit the front, and 4 guys, 5 guys in front of you.
Look back at the chopper, so too the breakaway group, Castillo and Habdi Michael, both working brilliantly together. I always see breakaways like this as similar to the game of Survivor. You form an alliance and you look to vote each other off the island at the back end of the stage. This is the Imperial Palace of Emperor Chenwu, which is a dynasty. The Chen dynasty was around about 557 AD. It all looks pretty calm at this point in the peloton, and they get the board indicating that the gap is 1 minute and 18 seconds. Marco Minar is the rider that sits at the front of the main field. And your man Dylan Kennett, he's made it easy to spot him today. He's put the pink overshoes on. Was that for us?
He said before the stage he thought it was going to rain, so if his cycling career doesn't work out, I don't think he's going to get a job as a weather forecaster.
They look good. It's always good to have that identifier with the team leader. And we see with Willia Trestina, Marechko, he's on a white bike. The rest of the team, they're all on red bikes.
And he seems to be quite a bit shorter than his teammates as well.
Yeah, he's easy to spot with how short he is, absolutely. There's the camera at the front of the helicopter, bringing us many of the wonderful images of the region around Taihu Lake. All calm at the rear end of the peloton, for the moment at least. Number 123, that is Zigger German. He's been pretty good. He's had a couple of top 10 finishes on stages, but hasn't really threatened a spot on the podium. The team that he rides for, the Gusto team, they are so aggressive. I've hardly seen any races where they're not in the breakaways.
It's always surprising if Ben Hill misses the breakaway.
It was a nasty fall for Ben Hill yesterday. Unfortunately, this time last year, Ben Hill crashed, broke his back, spent 7 weeks in China trying to recuperate. His visa expired, and he only just made it home on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's sad. Like yesterday, we spoke to his director in the hotel last night, and he was saying it's not as bad as last year, but he could be in a hospital for a while.
That is not good news. This is Alicon at the front for the Hainan Zhuling team, a team that is down to just 2 riders remaining. They had most of their riders not finish stage 2. And the blue colours now of United Healthcare coming up towards the front.
I think we spoke with them before the stage, and they seemed reasonably happy with 3rd and 4th on the overall classification, and they're leading the teams. So they probably put a guy on the front to just protect their position.
They hold on to 3rd place in the overall classification with Alexander Cataford, and 4th place is Sergei Techkov. And it is that final stage where protecting positions becomes more realistic and just as important as trying to move up a few placings.
Yeah, the race seems pretty happy with the situation at the moment. The 2 guys out the front have picked up the majority of the time, so that's good for Wanty. It's good for Ben Dybel, so we're happy.
Just inside 40 kilometres remaining on stage 7. Renhong Mountain District is the administrative, cultural and educational centre of Huzhou. Renjiao Mountain Scenic Spot is also a significant destination in Huzhou. It's also where many of the people get out and do their exercise. The Chinese are very keen on public exercise. It's been something that has really struck me. It's only my 2nd time to visit China, but you see lots of people out in the streets doing dancing with the music box on the go, and lots of exercise in the parks as well. The standard of racing in China has come up a lot in the last couple of years.
It only seems to be on the rise too, Matt.
Peloton cruising along, 1 minute and 17 seconds. Your team is playing a really smart hand here. You haven't done any of the pacemaking, and you've also got that protected position at the front because of the natural pecking order. Explain to us how the pecking order works in the peloton based on what riders you've got and where they're sitting overall.
Well, in theory, you kind of sit where your team car's positioned. So at the moment, you've got Wanty Group in front of us and some riders from Postobon, and we're sitting 3rd team, but we're sitting 2nd overall. So we, in theory, have the right to sit there, but it's not always that easy. You sometimes have to fight for position, and the teams behind us would want to sit where we're sitting because obviously you have less chance of an accident happening in 3rd wheel.
Just the numerical reality of it. The further down you sit, the more riders there are in front of you, the more chance there is of things going wrong. Hand up here at the back of the peloton. This is Michael Habton of Eritrea. Number 43 going up through the picture as well. That is Nishimori from the Nippo Vini Fantini team. I've been intrigued by that team as to which rider they've been working for in the sprints. It's looked like Chima and Bonifacio have just been doing their own thing.
Yeah, I think they're backing both horses and just saying to both their sprinters, have a crack, and it's worked well for them so far.
Chima has signed a 3-year contract with the team. Bonifacio is here as a stagiaire, that long format interview, so he'll be hoping to impress the team management. If not with a victory, then maybe doing the job today for Chima, who wears the blue jersey, is the leader of the best young rider classification. Number 161, one of your teammates, Ryan Kavanaugh. And they are the biggest pumpkins I've ever seen. Back to the breakaway group. Habti Michael at the front, Castillo sitting in second spots. Do you like the food in China? It's not a loaded question.
It's not too bad. We do eat a lot of fried rice, so when we get home I'll probably head down to the local cafe and try and get a eggs Benny to start off my return trip to Australia.
Excellent. I must confess I've rather enjoyed the cuisine, but the noodles for breakfast is a step too far.
It's not what we used to. Most of the boys have oats, and
Yeah.
they'll just cook up some oats in their room.
And the Skoda support vehicles, Skoda providing the vehicles for all of the teams. It's nice to have good cars to drive, particularly for Brett Dutton, your team manager.
Yeah, he looks pretty comfortable in there yesterday. He was asking me to write down some numbers, and I probably wasn't as sharp on the pen with a banged up wrist, so he's back to flying solo today.
What is the damage to the wrist?
It's just ligaments at the moment, but I'll have to get a scan when I get home.
So you got the chance yesterday to sit in the team car in the peloton. What's that like?
Yesterday the race was similar to today. There wasn't a whole lot happening in terms of breakaways and aggressive. So it was just for us making sure we knew who was up the road and who was going to get the time bonuses, so we didn't risk slipping positions in the overall.
The rider from United Healthcare at the front. This is Hugo Velasquez. He is the rider who is the lowest down in the general classification for that team at 17 minutes and 43 seconds. Hence, he's the man who is doing the job. Meanwhile, they have Alexander Cataford sitting in third place overall and the Romanian Sergei Techkov in fourth. The Colombians look so relaxed, and so they should. They've won 3 stages. Boris Valet has got an air of calmness about him, but very serious expression on his face.
Yeah, Boris did seem nervous this morning. Like you said earlier, it's been a while since he's won a race. He was saying a few days ago that he had a couple of bad seasons with accidents. So it's nice to see him get a result here, and I think if he could win the Tour, that'd be great.
He comes from the same hometown as Philippe Gilbert, and he spent some time on the Lotto Soudal team. He had a couple of seasons on that team, and then those injuries in the dry spell, he slipped back to the Wanty Group Gilbert squad, which is the 3rd biggest team in Belgium. The biggest team being Quickstep, then Lotto Soudal, followed by Wanty Group Gilbert. All 3 teams making an impact on the Tour de France this year. .2 kilometres remaining on stage 7 in the Tour of Taihu Lake. This is the 9th edition of the race, a race that is getting better with every year under its wheels. We've got 3 teams in the race this year who have participated in some of the biggest races in the world. Burgos BH this year riding the Volta a España. The Willia Trestina team, they've made multiple appearances at the Giro d'Italia. And Wanty Group Gilbert, they've ridden the Tour de France for the past 2 years. And at the moment, they're defending the leader's jersey, which sits on the shoulders of the 25-year-old Boris Valet. Manzana Postobon, they've also had a big impact on the race with 3-stage victories. Last year, they rode the Volta a España. And also here from France is Delco Marseille Provence KTM, a team that has ridden just about every major race in France this season, except for the biggest one of all, the Tour. The riders that are wearing the red and white colours, the Hingzheng team, which stands for Fly Forever, they have the red jersey with Jianping Liu. He's the leader of the Chinese classification. You don't have any Chinese riders on your team, but how big a battle is that amongst the Chinese riders to try and win that prize?
It was interesting the other day how one of them slipped in the breakaway and the jersey changed hands with picking up sprint points. So it's hotly contested, and it's nice to see the Chinese riders competing fiercely for that jersey.
The gap between those 2 riders, incidentally, is less than a second. It's gone down to the split second from the prologue. And it's Liao who's in second spot. He held it from the first day. He lost that time bonus to Liu, and it must feel so close yet so far.
Yeah, he will struggle to get that 1 second back, unfortunately.
Habdi Michael over the top of the handlebars in a time trial position. The Eritrean rider in the breakaway. Castillo from Jelly Belly is the rider who is with him. No threats in the breakaway to the orange jersey. Castillo sits at 3 minutes and 34 seconds behind. That was Filosi in the blue colours wearing number 12, just drifting back towards the team car. Number 23 that you can see, that is Itamar Einhorn. His surname translates as unicorn. A minute and 19 seconds for the 2 leaders. The riders in the peloton just starting to negotiate position, looking to move to the front now as we're getting down towards the business end of the stage. The water conservation system in Huzhou was built some 2,000 years ago. The system was revolutionary, solving the problems of flooding, irrigation and shipping all at the same time. Stage 7 of the Tour of Taihu Lake. Many of the dignitaries have been delighted to see the race and some of the world's best cyclists on their local roads. We are doing our best to make the Tour of Taihu a really successful race. We want to make it into a world-renowned brand and a world-renowned race itself. I think the city comes to life when there is sport in it, and to love sport is to love life. The locals really have thrown their support behind the race, and what I've been impressed with is somebody that gets the chance to go to the biggest bike races in the world. This is the orange jersey or the yellow jersey of hotels on this race.
We do get looked after very well, and that's one of the bonuses about racing in China. No matter what the race is, the standard of hotels and food is first class.
It is. I can vouch for that. As having had the privilege of covering the Tour de France this year for the 12th time, the hotels here have got the tour well covered. .32 kilometres remaining. The 2 leaders still holding on to an advantage of 1 minute and 32 seconds. You're still very confident they'll get caught. Do you want to put a kilometre on it? Where will they get caught?
I said earlier 10 kilometres to go. I thought would be their time would be up. But I also thought there would be more wind today. And I thought this here would be maybe a chance for crosswinds and selections to be made. But it looks like it's going pretty well for Wanty Group at the moment.
I think they might get caught just on 5 kilometres to go, because with it being so calm, Wanty Group Goubert, Manzana Postobon, they've got a lot more control. They can dictate terms, and 2 riders out in front, as they have been for around about 80 kilometres now. The fatigue must be starting to build.
Yeah, they can pretty much pick and choose when they want to go get them, and I wouldn't be surprised if Willia Tristina was to join them on the front very soon. Much conversation between the 2 riders out in front when you're in a breakaway like this, just encouraging each other? Yeah, maybe checking that the other rider has got enough food and drink, because the worst thing would be if you got left out there on your own. You need your companion for as long as possible. Obviously you want to beat them in the finish. It's one of the great things of the sport is seeing that sort of stuff happen. Riders sharing a water bottle if somebody's missed through a feed zone, or passing over food as well, because they've got a shared interest at this point. Yeah, like it's great so far this race. There's been a few accidents, and the other teams come and ask, "Oh, how's your guy going?" and like, "Is everyone okay?" And everyone, at the end of the day, it's just sport. Everyone wants to get home and be with their families, and so as competitive as it is, we're all still looking out for each other. One rider who is really keen to get home is Mark Mcnally from Wanty Group Goubert. He became a father just 2 weeks before the race got underway. So he's super keen to get home, and he'll be super keen to be part of that lead-out train for Boris Valet.
This is Veloci at the back, the 26-year-old Italian with the Dalco Marseille team. Number 105 from Jelly Belly, that is Keegan Shworvel. He's had one of the names that has been the most fun to talk about throughout the race, just because it rolls off the tongue nicely. Shworvel. He also beat Lance Armstrong in a mountain bike race when he was 15 years of age, and that was before Lance Armstrong had made his big confession, and he still had the Livestrong development team. And because he beat Lance Armstrong in that race, he ended up on the Livestrong development team and then spent a season or two with the BMC development squad. This is one of his teammates, Ulysses Castillo, out in front. Their sports director, Danny Van Hout, has been in the sport for a long time. They also have another sports director with them here, which is Matt Rice, who hails from Tasmania in Australia. Back of the race, the Beijing XDS team. Their hopes will be resting on the shoulders of the Ukrainian sprinter, Andrei Kulik. He was close yesterday. He got himself a 7th place finish. He's had a couple of top 10s, but not quite onto the podium. At this point of the race, the teams get themselves all together. We can see the riders from Eritrea and the fluoro colours that you mentioned just a moment ago, the red and the fluoro shoulders. Willia Trestina for the first time moving forward.
Yeah, everyone looks like they're in good position, and they'll just be waiting for their director sportif in the car behind to say on the radio, now's the time. Maybe Willia will put one guy on the front, then maybe two, and then they'll leave 3 guys to do the lead out from Moritsko.
Habdi Michael at the front, Castillo sitting in 2nd spot. 1:28 now their advantage. It was out to almost 2 minutes at one point, but the peloton are gradually reeling them back in. Would your team have hoped for more wind on a stage like this, or a little concern about Ben Dybel in the wind, given that he's in 2nd spot overall?
The wind would have been great for Dylan, and we have some strong guys, so that would have helped us, but Ben Dybel has actually been crooked the last couple of days. He's got a bit of a head cold, so the easier the stage is for Ben has been good for us.
That is good outcome. 2-stage victories for St George Continental Cycling Team, plus they have Ben Dybel sitting in 2nd place overall. I'm joined in commentary by one of their riders, Tom Hubbard, who unfortunately was stage 4 that you had the crash.
Yeah.
Did you start stage 5?
No, I signed on. I rode to the start.
Yeah, I thought I saw you sign on.
Yeah, and then I spoke to the boys, and I couldn't grip the bars, so we decided that it wasn't in the team's best interest. I would have been not been able to assist them at all during the stage. I wouldn't have been able to run water or position them. So all I would be doing is riding around, risking serious injury and making my wrist worse. So we decided to pull the pin.
And delaying your recovery as bare minimum.
It seemed like the smart option to not start.
Yeah. The green jersey sitting on the shoulders of Juan Sebastian Milano. He is now actually in equal 1st place in terms of points, 51 points apiece with Boris Valet. But if they were to finish with the status quo of 51 points, Boris Valet would be awarded as the winner of that classification on account back being better placed in the general classification. This is Osorio at the front, followed by Marco Minar. It's then Alicorn in 3rd spot. And just behind them is Velasquez. Been impressed by how well organised the Colombian team is. Manzana, Postobon. They were playing a really cold-blooded game in the first couple of sprint stages. Did none of the work to bring a breakaway back. 5 kilometres to go. Pop, they appear at the front.
Yeah, very smart. And like you said earlier, that very casual group of guys. But when it comes down to business time, they get it done. So good on them.
Yijal Village, the race is slowly making its way past. This looks like a couple of the lead vehicles. Peloton going through on the right-hand side of the road. Village, typical of what we see in the southern part of China. The village itself has existed for more than 1,000 years. Now the Breakaway Group of 2 are about to make the U-turn. This is bad for the Breakaway, good for the peloton. They make the U-turn, they'll look across and they'll see what the gap is, they'll see who's doing the chasing, and then the peloton, they can assess how these guys travelling.
Yeah, it won't do the Breakaway any favours, and also the change of direction could bring some stronger teams to the front, and maybe they try and force a selection if the wind has changed.
It's 1 minute and 23 seconds. The peloton heading down to that turnaround point. The Breakaway Be able to look across and see who it is that's trying to spoil the day for them. The crossing as well. Perhaps a little bit of encouragement from the Era trains. A thumbs up over to the side of the road for Habdi Michael, the rider who sits at the front. The bright pink colours of Manzana Postobon still doing the pacemaking at the head of the peloton. They, along with Wanty Group Goubert, have been the two teams we've seen the most of on this stage. A little bit of bunching up at the rear end of the field. I'm sure that everybody will make it around this corner safely. Osorio leads them through the corner. And the team of Douglas also coming up towards the front. Ning Zhao trying to get themselves a stage victory. They were fourth on the stage yesterday, and Douglas finished on the podium on stage one with a second place finish. Looks like a bit of a change in the body language now at the front. The chase is getting a little bit more intense. Based on the body language at the front of the peloton, it looks like they've clicked it up a gear.
Yeah, it's time to go and get the breakaway. Some of the sports directors will be getting a little bit uncomfortable, and for some teams this is the last chance for them to get a result.
And this is the teammates now of Georges Douglas. They're going to the front, the men in the white colours. They're obviously got plenty of confidence in the former Greek national champion. He's the rider who was last in line in the white colours. And Wanty Group Goubert moving up along the outside, maybe asking the question, where have you been for the past week?
Yeah, give us a hand, mate.
And Boris Valet in the orange jersey, just making sure he stays out of trouble. It's an old cliche in cycling. It's a cliche for good reason. Up the front, out of trouble.
Yeah, Boris has impressed me this week. He's a very crafty rider, and he just seems to be in the thick of everything. He hasn't missed a beat all week, and if he went home as the winner of the Tour of Taihu Lake, he deserves it.
He would be an appropriate winner. Meanwhile, at the back of the peloton, we can now see the riders getting strung out. They're no longer having conversations sitting on the brake levers. They're down on the drops, getting aerodynamic, and there's some real jostling for position at the fronts. Perhaps the wind has picked up just a little bit.
Yeah, from last year, I do remember this stage, there was a lot of nerves in the bunch, so you might see a team move forward and put the pressure on the race.
And now, Giuseppe Fonzi, the man with the coolest name in the peloton, goes to the front of the peloton for Willia Trestina. Behind him is the Ukrainian national champion, that is Polivoda. He's one of the teammates of Douglas, the Greek sprinter. This is the first time we've seen Willia Trestina at the front of the peloton, so they want to make sure Morocco gets some clean air. On that victory on stage 5, he won by 4 or 5 lengths and was going away with his arms up in the air.
Yeah, that was very impressive. He did it easily, and it looked like he had another gear compared to the rest of the race.
He's still just 24 years of age, Jakob Morocco. He's won 17 stages in this race throughout his career. Still the team in white, allowed to control the front of the peloton. Ning Zhao, the sports lottery team. This is Polivoda. Polivoda, the Ukrainian national champion, has been a key workhorse. Their sprinter is not in this chain of riders. He's just sitting a little bit further back. This is a real increase in speed. They're now down to just under 1 minute behind the breakaway group of 2. How quickly things can change for the leading duo. This is an impressive hotel. This is the Sheraton Hotel, just a matter of metres away from the finish line. And the Olympic Stadium, which seats more than 40,000 people. Golf is a popular sport here as well, so too is making the most of the lake. To see this team doing the chasing, it's caught me by surprise. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, they might have been better to save some guys to do the lead out later. I'm happy to see them on the front instead of us. We seem to have played our cards well so far this stage, and just been sitting 15th to 20th, and the boys look like they're ready to do a good sprint with Dylan.
Bad news now for the breakaway. Ulysses Castillo through to the front in the white colours. Daniel Michael at the back just having a bite to eat. They'll be getting the communication that in the matter of less than 10 kilometres, the gap has gone from 1:30 to just on 42 seconds.
It'll be disheartening for those two for sure.
And so too is that the honking to the horns from the motorbikes and the cars, the following vehicles clearing the gap. A neutral service going forward. That's to make sure that it's a fair chase for the peloton. They don't have any convoy of cars to be able to work their way across. Panning in across the Lake Taihu, which the race is named after. Tour of Taihu Lake now in its 9th edition. The breakaway now, 36 seconds it is no longer. That has gone up in a puff of smoke.
We were both quite wrong with our predictions of the 5 and 10 kilometres.
Yeah, I really thought that given that there was hardly any wind, the teams of the sprinters were just going to wait and wait and wait. So they didn't waste any energy and they'd be reeled in at 5Ks to go. But now that they're about to be caught and there's still more than 20 kilometres to go, there might be one team or a rider or two with some ambitions to try and shake it up.
Yeah, they're running out of time to make a difference in the overall classification. So if they're going to try something, now's the time.
It's a pity Ben Hill's not in the race because he'd be the kind of guy that would attack it the moment the breakaway was caught.
Yeah, I'm sure some of the guys won't miss chasing him. He's hard to catch.
He's tenacious, isn't he?
He always has a go.
That stage, on stage 2, when he attacked with 1,100 metres still to go and he got caught 40 metres from the finish line. Castillo is now attacking Michael, and this is the kind of move to get a spot on the podium for the most combative prize for the day.
It'll be hard to split these two. They've both ridden superbly.
They've shared the workload, both of them, but now Michael concedes. They are being caught by the peloton. Castillo defying for just another couple of seconds. And based by the fact that the peloton's hard on that right-hand gutter, you can only assume that the wind is coming from the left-hand side.
Yeah, there must be a fair bit of wind out there, so the boys will have to time their lead-outs for the sprint perfectly.
And it's a quick approach to the finish line. It dips ever so slightly downhill. What sort of speeds have the guys been touching in the sprint finishes?
I think 65, but I haven't been there in the last few hundred metres to confirm that.
It's all over now for Ulysses Castillo. The rider from the Jelly Belly team has finally been reeled back in. The peloton is all together with 21.7 kilometres remaining in the Tour of Taihu Lake. There he is, Michael, quickly drifting to the rear end of the peloton. Well, Tom, it's been a pleasure to have you in commentary. We'll let you get out now to the finish line and try and welcome home your man, Dylan Kennett. Who's the biggest threat to him to win the stage?
Milano. So hopefully Dylan first and Milano second.
That's Tom Hubbard, who's joined us in commentary from the St. George Continental Cycling Team. Unfortunately, Tom was a non-starter at stage 5 after a crash on stage 4, but his team has been brilliant. 2 victories so far, the prologue plus a stage win for Dylan Kennett. They hold on to second place overall with Ben Dybel, and Kennett is looking to make it 3.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Enjoy the coverage.
Wanty Group Goubert now, they reassert themselves at the front. And the intensity has picked up significantly. Willia Trestina, the riders with the fluoro colours and the little bit of red, they're slotting themselves up towards the front. The pink of Manzana Postobon also riding towards the head of the peloton. There's been a real change in the complexion of the race. The men from the St. George Continental Cycling Team just caught in a little bit of traffic. They're now going up the left-hand side of the peloton. Marco Mcnally burying the head at the front end of the main field. And the riders from the St. George Continental team with the darker pink and the black colours. The man with the black overshoes on, that's Dylan Kennett. He's the rider that they're hoping can win the stage today. He was third on the stage yesterday, and it was so tight yesterday. Almost impossible to separate second and third. Para, the winner by around about a quarter of a wheel, and then it was a tyre width between Milano and Kennett for that second and third spot finish. In fourth on the stage yesterday was Bouglas. In fifth position was Tesfazion. Peloton charging up alongside the lake. Down to 99 riders remaining in the race from the 121 who started last Sunday. Opening prologue in Wuji, which was taken out by Dylan Kennett, one of the favourites for today's stage. And Kennett, if he can win the stage today, that time bonus will be enough to give him a top 5 finish. And with the 1 second time bonus that he's collected already, if he does win the stage, Dylan Kennett, that could move him up, in fact, to second place overall. So the St. George Continental Cycling team could find themselves with 2 riders on the podium. Everything has to go right for him for that to happen, however. And there's the blue jersey, number 42. That's Emilio Cima. He's the leader of the Best Young Rider classification. Of all the riders inside the top 5 in that competition, Cima has been sprinting the best. And I think he's got the legs to be able to defend that position. He was 6th on the stage yesterday. He's had a top 5 finish as well. And the wind looks like it is having a little bit more of an impact. It's still fairly calm. And looking out from the finish line, it's a slight cross-tail wind on the approach to the finish line. That will make the speeds super quick, and we may well see them getting close to 70 kilometres per hour on the sprint finish this afternoon. And you can just see by the way the riders are no longer on the brake levers, they're now down into the drops of the handlebars. Yizhou, the village, which we now make our way past. Typical traditional village of the southern part of China with more than 1,000 years history. This is one of the favourites for the stage, a man who's won 17 stages in his career, Jakob Morocco. Next year he's off to the team that we currently know as BMC. They'll have a new sponsor next year. It will be CCC. But it is the team that in the past was the team of Cadel Evans when he was the winner of the Tour de France. This is the anticipation at the stage finish. Big podium for the final day as well. The locals watching on the big screen, awaiting the arrival, and somebody's head has been turned into a drum. Curious look on that young kid's face. And this tells us the story about the wind and the reason the tempo has really increased at the front, which is 17 kilometres to go. There's no one in the tempo back now for the Monte Group Goubert team. The green jersey of Milano. He's had 2 wins, a 3rd place finish, a 2nd place finish. He leads the race for the green jersey. This is Boris Valet, number 75, the orange jersey. 164 alongside him as one of the favourites for the stage today. That is Dylan Kennett. He has had 2 victories already, 1 in the prologue, 1 in a sprint finish. But it's Valet who has the biggest prize almost in his hands. 15 seconds is his advantage in the overall classification. Ben Dybel in 2nd spot. It's Alexander Cataford in 3rd. But if Kennett can win the stage, it could be enough to move the Kiwi up into 2nd position overall. Number 161, that's Ryan Kavanaugh. He's got the job early for St. George Continental Cycling Team, keeping Kennett out of the wind. The last man in the lead-out train for Kennett is Morgan Smith. The Skoda vehicles provided to the race. Each of the teams getting one of those Skoda Octavias. Perfect car for a cyclist. Stick the bikes on the roof with the wagon. Plenty of room in the back for all the luggage. Manzana Postobon. This is the most work we've seen from the Colombian team throughout the race. They've been a lot more conservative in their pacemaking up until this point. But the final day, it is all on the line. And number 42 in the blue jersey, this is Emirio Chima, the leader of the best young rider classification. This is for men born, or at least under the age of 25 at the start of the season, so born after the 1st of January 1993. And the Ukrainian national champion now towards the back. So to number 91, this is Jianping Liu, the leader of the red jersey classification, the best Chinese rider in the race. From the 34 Chinese riders who started, there's 23 remaining. And it's less than a 1 second gap between first and second position in the battle for red. Polivoda now, the Ukrainian national champion, 1-4-1. The white colours with the yellow and blue stripe around his jersey. Is now sitting down at the back of the peloton after having really started things up on that U-turn point. Taihu Lake and the surrounding area, it is a hub of sporting activities, golf, the yachting club, mountain biking, some extreme sports, horse racing as well. It's got Movie Town, a museum, and embraces the old, and it is also on the front foot with the new. The final 13.8 kilometres throughout today's stage, we did see a breakaway group of 2 get the biggest advantage that we've seen in the Tour. It was Castillo from Jelly Belly, Habdi Michael from the Eritrean national team. They were out to a lead at 1 point of 1 minute and 55 seconds. With just on 21 kilometres to go, they were reeled back into the peloton. They make their way alongside Taihu Lake, and the tempo has really increased. It's Manzana Postobon along with Wanty Group Goubert doing the pacemaking at the front. Number 192, the yellow and red colours, that's Habdi Michael from Eritrea. He was one of the 2 riders in the day-long breakaway. Number 1 from the Burgos team, that's Jesus Isquera. He's been pretty active throughout the race, so too is his sprinter, if we can find him. Number 4, Denny Lopez. He's had 2 podium finishes throughout the race and 1 Superman-style fall. It's one of those crashes, though, that the injuries will accumulate, and he'll be even worse off today than he was the day of the actual crash. The crash happened on stage 4 when Kennett was the winner, Bonifacio was second, and Lopez rounded out the podium in 3rd spots. And the tempo really has increased. The most protected part of the peloton at this point is around about where Dylan Kennett is. He's the rider with the pink booties over his shoes. He's just sitting underneath the wheel of his teammates to the right-hand side, getting sheltered from the wind that is coming from the left. This is Taihu Lake as we pan in to collect the peloton. Some of the wonderful images that we've had throughout this year's race. Beautiful landscape, modern architecture to be able to enjoy as well. And the Hotel Sheraton at the end of today's stage that we got a chance to take a look at just a few moments ago is stunning. Average speed throughout today's stage just on 47 kilometres per hour. On schedule for another quick finish. In fact, it looks as if it might be a little bit slower than that, down around about 46 kilometres per hour now, the average speed. But most of the stages have been flirting with that 48 kilometre per hour mark. It has been a quick race. Number 104 from Jelly Belly, that's Taylor Sheldon, a rider that we've seen a lot of throughout this year's race. He's been in quite a few of the breakaways. 113, Yu Jiang, one of just 2 riders surviving from this team of Hainan. The other one is Alicon, Antonio Alicon, Colombian rider on that team, who have seen do a little bit of the pacemaking at the front of the field. Number 13 there in the blue colours, that is Madrazo. He's having a chat here to Izquierda, and Madrazo in blue is a Spaniard riding for a French team, and I get the impression, based on the way we've seen him spending a lot of time with the riders from Burgos BH in the hotels throughout this year's race, that he's keen to move across to that team for season 2019. Peloton charges across the bridge. Not quite the heat haze of a few days ago, but the weather is perfect for racing. Temperatures around about 16 or 17 degrees. A few of the riders even having a vest on at the start of the stage. The orange jersey, the race leader, Boris Valet, he's never looked flustered, but he doesn't have a huge air of confidence about him either. This win could be the tipping point in the career of the 25-year-old Belgian. Might be just that shot of self-belief that he really needs to fulfill a lot of the potential that he showed as a junior. Number 44, the back of the race, that is Okimoto. And Monsalve with the left hand, still all bandaged up, has survived this race. Number 41 that you saw there just momentarily, that is Leonardo Bonifacio. I would be surprised if we don't see him at the front inside the last 5 kilometres. He's had multiple top 10 finishes, including 10th place yesterday. And number 44, Okimoto, he's riding a different bike to the rest of the riders on that team, because he's a stagiaire on the squad, which is effectively a long-term job interview. He's just been riding with the team for the last couple of months of the season as the team makes the decision, is he right for the squad for next year? Do we bring him on permanently? So he hasn't been issued with one of the team bikes as yet. Manzana Postobon, the pink colours at the front. The team that has hedged its bets throughout the last couple of stages. It's been Milano doing the lead out for Parra. Jordan Parra was the winner of the stage yesterday, and Juan Sebastian Milano was in 2nd spot. Milano is the man who wears the green jersey. Parra is the rider directly behind him in pink with the beard. Okamoto at the back, the 23-year-old from Japan, who last year won the under-23 road race at the Asian Championships. He's also a winner of a stage this year, the Tour of Taiwan, proving himself to be a pretty quick sprinter. And with the speeds that we're seeing at the front, courtesy of the work being done by Manzana Postobon and Monte Group Goubert, it has been impossible for any rider, despite their level of ambition, to break away from the main field. There's no getting off the front when you're touching speeds of almost 50 kilometres per hour. And good to see the yellow and red colours so well organised. The Eritrean national team moving up the left-hand side of the peloton. We heard from a few of the riders in the race talking about how much they've improved as a team in just the space of 12 months. Izquierda back at the team car asking for some instructions. And number 42, Chima, also being brought back to the peloton. His teammates, we saw a few of them sitting down towards the rear end of the field, which did catch me by surprise. And it appears as if Chima has had a bit of a mechanical problem. He's drifted back into the convoy to get some team support. And look at how quickly they're taking him up the right-hand side of the peloton to position him at the front to get ready for the sprints. That is impressive. The whole team doing the job. what's left of the team. They're down to just 4 riders remaining in the race, but they are sticking together, defending the blue jersey. Down to 7 kilometres remaining. Wanty Group Goubert on the fronts. There are not enough time bonuses left for anybody to take the leader's jersey away from Boris Valet. Valet, the overall race leader, he has spoken a few times about his anxiety in the big bunch sprint finishes. With the leader's jersey on, he hasn't wanted to take too many risks. And today, as long as he stays out of trouble and doesn't lose any time in terms of gaps on the road, he will go out the winner of the 9th edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake. Now the tempo is really starting to increase. The white colours on the right-hand side of the peloton with the black nicks on, that is the Burgos BH team. They're positioning Lopez at the front. Meanwhile, it's survival mode at the back of the peloton. 1-3-3, that is Jin Song Liu. You can see the little bit of damage he's got on his right leg. He might have been involved in a little bit of a fall at the early part of the stage. Willia Tristina, now you can see the fluoro colours on the right-hand side of the screen, getting themselves in a formation for Jakob Morocco. Now the battle is really on for positions at the front. If you can see the rider with the little bits of bandage on his knees, poking into the picture, it was on the left. That was Denny Lopez, the sprinter from Burgos BH. The water slide for celebrations, that can wait for later on. Lots of amusement parks in this area, keep the kids entertained. Now Ryan Kavanaugh with the dark pink and the black and the blue shoes. He's one of the riders from the St. George Continental team. Peloton is split. There's no traffic island that they're about to go around. This is a drag race, a battle of horsepower. It is the Willia Tristina team going down the left-hand side of the road. They've had the advantage of sitting back in the peloton up until this point and just waiting. Inside the last 5 kilometres and right on cue, they emerge at the front for Jakob Morocco. So too, the blue colours that you can see, that is United Healthcare. Just hoping that maybe Alexander Cataford can get a top 3 finish and lock in a spot on the podium. At the moment, he is in 3rd position overall, 15 seconds behind the race leader, Boris Valet. Still want to Group Goubert with the last couple of drops of energy. The speed increasing. Impossible to move up now for the riders who are stuck more than 30 or 40 wheels back in the peloton. Willia Tristina on the right, that is Moncassin with the orange shoes. You look at the right-hand side of the screen, just on the little bit of the white paint, that's the big Frenchman forcing his way forward. A few biddens being jettisoned off to the side of the road. That's psychological as much as anything else. That was Esquerra now going to the front for Burgos BH. He's been resting at the back of the peloton right throughout the stage. Willia Tristina up the left. Tesfazion from Eritrea has managed to slot himself onto the wheel of Morocco. Just holding on to that position. Moncassin now at the head of the field. The green jersey caught a little bit further back. That is Milano, but as always is the case with Juan Sebastian Milano, it's an expression of tranquility. He never panics. The beard to the left of the screen, that is Nathan Earl, riding for the Israel Cycling Academy. They're trying to position Itmar Einhorn up at the front, the Israeli rider on that squad. And now the dark pink and black colours, that was Morgan Smith of St. George Continental, and he's sending out the surge party to try and find their sprinter, Dylan Kennett. Monte Group Goubert, they have owned the front of the peloton, making sure they get Boris Valet across the line safely. He's almost been a stage winner, Valet. He was second in a photo to Milano on stage 2. He then finished in second place on stage 3. The orange jersey is his priority, but he is lining up at the rear end of his lead-out train, aiming for the stage victory as well. That one rider that you see near the front off on his own, looking over his shoulder, that is Morgan Smith, looking for his sprinter, Kennett. Still Moncusson, who is at the front, inside the last 2.5 kilometres. The white colours moving around the outside. That's the teammates of Bouglas. Positioning the Greek sprinter inside the top 10. They're searching for him as well. And now the acceleration. Willia Trestina, once Moncusson has done his job, Willia Trestina, they step the pace up again. They're worried about all these teams being able to move around the outside, and that is boxing in their sprinter, Morocco. 2 kilometres still to race. And we saw on stage 5, as soon as Morocco had some clean air, he won with ease. Mark Mcnally now is the rider on the front for Monte Group Goubert. The Brit, he has plenty of horsepower. Polivoda is the rider in the white colours, the Ukrainian national champion. He's looking after Bouglas. You can see the damage to the knees of Lopez, but that is not denting his motivation. He still has himself in a good position. Polivoda now moving Bouglas further forward. They're the 2 white colours that you could see from the helicopter shots moving up the right-hand side of the peloton. And there's a little bit of pushing and shoving. The fight for position is on in earnest. Kennett has got himself boxed in. He's lost the wheel of his teammates. Willia Trestina's now on the front. The orange jersey has Morocco breathing down his neck. Underneath the kites, 1 kilometre to go. The slight rise, then it is full gas down towards the finish line. The blue colours of Marcotte, the former American national champion, moving up towards the front. He leans on Milano, looking for some slipstream. He slots into 4th spot. He's now on the wheel of Valet. It is then Morocco, followed by Milano. Tesfazion is the next in line. Zigger German has also got himself up in the mix. The lead out is on from Wesley Creeder, looking for the win for Valet. The perfect finish for Valet. The orange jersey, the challenge is coming. It's Morocco, Milano, Morocco, the magnificence. He wins the final stage with what looks like ease, but it's Boris Valet with the biggest celebration. He takes out the 2018 Tour of Taihu Lake. Congratulations from Morocco to Valet. It's reciprocated the other way, but it's the Belgium who has the most to celebrate tonight as the winner of the 9th edition of this race. Here's a look at the sprint from Jakob Morocco, just waited patiently. His teammates, they did a brilliant job with the lead out. Morocco now just bursts forward so quickly over the top of Boris Valet. Milano trying to hold on to his slipstream, but it was Morocco who was never really challenged. And then Boris Valet doing enough to hold on to 3rd place on the stage. Composure in the celebration by Jakob Morocco. And a humble smile on the face from Boris Valet. The green jersey, the winner of the points classification. Milano will get the points classification just. Chima will go out the winner of the blue jersey. It will be Liu, the best Chinese rider in red. But the man who has the most to look back on with a big smile is number 75, Boris Valet from Monte Group Goubert. He came in as one of the race favourites and he didn't disappoint. He didn't win a stage, but he won the race overall. So the 9th edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake has been taken out by the Belgian rider, Boris Valet. And the boats are out on the lake, the traditional boats. It will be a traditional celebration, I'm sure, as well on the podium. Morocco, what a way for him to go out at what could be his final ever edition of riding this race. Certainly his last edition riding the race with Willia Tristina. But it would be great to see him back in the not too distant future. But the man with the look of relief on his face as much as anything else. This is Boris Valet thanking his teammates and those who do all the work back of house.
Thanks, man.
Let's now head down to the race winner, Boris Valet.
Boris, this is the biggest stage or biggest result of your career. How does it feel?
Yeah, first stage, first time I win a general classman. Many times like a teammate, but first time like the leader. I would like to thank my team. It was really hard some days. Yeah, we have keep fighting every day, and now I'm really happy.
Was it a nervous day for you today, knowing you just had to finish to win the overall classification?
Yeah, we were scared about a problem, because yeah, the first stage I have problem with my ketting. I could not sprint, good position, good feeling. I have make no result. Then that's why I have fighting the day after. And yeah, now keep the GC. And say one more time, but my team was giving it all, and without my teammate, I could not win.
Congratulations.
Thank you. 谢谢.
And a nice little Chinese thank you at the end from Boris Valet. Xie. This is the Sheridan, just a matter of 100, maybe 200 metres from the finish line. And congratulating the riders from the St. George Continental team. Showing a huge amount of respect for everybody. Also a pat for the riders from Eritrea who have been so impressive throughout this race. He has ridden with class and real dignity as the race winner, Boris Valet. That is some hotel, a feat of magnificent engineering. Let's now take another look at the sprint finish. Willia Tristina, they got the timing right. For Jakob Morocco, it's been one of his more disappointing editions in the Tour of Taihu Lake, but it's all within context. Disappointing? He's won 3 stages. It's good by the measures of just about anybody else, but he's a man who has won the overall classification twice, 2015 and 2017. A nice way for him to finish in 2018 with the stage victory. He was just waiting here patiently on the wheel of the orange jersey. Morocco at this point is in 5th position. Composed, Milano is behind him in green. Kennett getting caught in the traffic, so too Tisfezion of the Eritrean national team. And that pecking order, what an advantage it is to have teammates be able to deliver you in the lead out, stretching the peloton out into single file. And at that point you saw Morocco, he just let one more rider in the blue colours from United Healthcare slot into 4th position as Morocco wanted to leave his sprint a little bit later. Didn't want to be caught out in the wind for too long. That's experience and class and composure. And once he started, it was then into the slipstream of Valet. Didn't stay there for too long. Milano picked up the wheel of Morocco, but couldn't quite get there. And 3rd place on the stage for Boris Valet. Chance now to take a look at the confirmation of those results. Morocco ahead of Milano, then Valet in third position. The impressive Tesfazion in fourth. It was German in fifth, followed by Kennett, then Lopez, Bourglas in ninth, Kulik in, Bourglas in eighth, Kulik in ninth, and it was then Tesfon in 10th position. General classification, Boris Valet going out the winner, 19 seconds ahead of Ben Dybel. Alexander Cataford rounding out the top three to join them on the podium. It was then his teammate Techkov in fourth position, followed by Williams in fifth. He picked up that small time bonus today to consolidate that position, followed by Kennett, then Sheldon, Turek, Chima, and Milano with the time bonus today, with second place on the stage, has climbed up into the top 10 overall. The green jersey, that was tight. Milano today, by finishing in second position on the stage, has won that classification, just 2 points clear of Boris Valet. It was then Morocco in fourth, followed by the ever-consistent Kennett. It was then Chima in fifth position. Tesfazion was the next best, followed by Lopez, Bonifacio, Bourglas, and then Para. The blue jersey for the best young rider, Emilio Chima, going out the winner there. 5 seconds ahead of Cormac McGough, the man who wore the jersey for so long. Making it into the top three was the young Frenchman, Remy Rocher. Shworvel was the next best, followed by Fuentes, making it into the top five. And this was the tightest of them all. Jianping Liu getting it by a split second ahead of Wanyu Vincent Liao in the race for the red jersey as the best Chinese rider. It was then Chen in third spot, 15 seconds behind. And the man who's won the final stage, he's third in this year's race, 18th throughout his career, is Jakob Morocco. Let's now have a listen to what he has to say.
Victory again today. You look super happy and the team was over the moon.
Yeah, sure. Today my mates was great. So they work in front with the wanty that want to win DGC. So in the final kilometer, all guy with the other team stay in front and they did, I believe, a job.
How special is the spirit in this team? It looks like you're always having fun. The camaraderie is fantastic, is it?
Sure. Here is very good race because there are many flat stage. So I'm very happy for this result.
And your team, describe the atmosphere in this team.
So my team also are great and they are happy for this job. Thank you.
And the winner of the red jersey, the best Chinese rider, is Jianping Liu.
拿到这个还是非常高兴，因为前一天就那2秒的劣势，做了非常挣扎的，就是那几天反正是一直非常累吧。今天拿下来，对我来说和对团队来说是非常高兴的一天。好，谢谢。
He said that he was very tired throughout the stage, but this victory has made him very happy. And no doubt it has. He really fought for it. It was on stage 5 that he managed to slip into a little breakaway, head into one of the intermediate sprints. He finished second in that sprint, collecting a 2-second time bonus, which was the strategic move that got him into the jersey. Jelly Belly, after 18 seasons, that's it. As a sponsor in professional cycling, they've had a successful race. 103, that is Cormac McGough. We saw him in the blue jersey for a long time. Castillo sitting down on the far side of the team car. He was in the breakaway throughout today's stage. And didn't we enjoy seeing Keegan Shworvel in the breakaways? There he is with the black helmet on, all smiles. Time to start unloading all the equipment and reboosting the calories. Let's take a look back at the stage. Second longest stage of the race at 137.5 kilometres, getting underway with a fire under the gun. The leaders of the various classifications all at the head of the peloton. 99 riders on the start line from the 121 who started last Sunday. The Bullet Train, that made an appearance on the stage as it blasted on by the race. Breakaway group of two, the Eritreans, represented with Daniel Habdi-Michael. The Jelly Belly squad, they had Ulysses Castillo off the front. They went across the bridge, the long bridge, which the side-on view shows it looking very much like the famous Chinese dragon. A little cooler at the start of the stage today, so the orange jersey, the race leader, Boris Valet, had an extra jersey on over the top just for the first 30 kilometres or so. Into the intermediate sprints, the first one, Habdi-Michael tried to catch Castillo by surprise. Castillo, with all of his experience, he was up to the task, got back into the slipstream of Habdi-Michael and then won that sprint convincingly. He was keen to get back on with the pacemaking though, as they were holding on to an advantage of more than 1 minute and 20 seconds at that point. It was then Juan Sebastian Milano across the line in third, moving him onto equal points in the race for the green jersey with Boris Valet. The second of the sprints, and this time through, it was Habdi-Michael who got the better of Castillo. And as those two were doing battle for first and second, the race for third place, it was an attack by the American Tyler Williams, who went off the front of the peloton to collect the 1 second time bonus and secure his spot inside the top 5 in the general classification. The third and final intermediate sprint of the day, the last intermediate sprint of this year's edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake, and it was Ulysses Castillo. He used all of his experience. He caught Daniel Habdi-Michael by surprise and won that one by a couple of lengths. They then got themselves organised again, holding on to an advantage at this point of almost 1 minute and 40 seconds. It was Dylan Kennett in third place. 1 point in the race for the green jersey for Kennett there, a 1 second time bonus. This was the changing point of the race as they made the U-turn, then back up alongside the lake. The peloton got on with the job. The tempo increased significantly. It was the riders in the white colours, the teammates of Georges Buglas, who they went to the front and they increased the speed by upwards of 5 kilometres per hour, and very quickly the advantage for the two leaders disintegrated. And they were reeled back in within the space of 5 kilometres. Polivoda, the Ukrainian national champion, the rider at the front of the peloton. Then the bigger teams, they said, hey, this is our spot. They reasserted themselves at the head of the race shortly thereafter. Inside 1 kilometre to go, Willia Trestina, they were opening up the sprint early to string the peloton out to make sure Morocco didn't have any traffic to deal with. The orange jersey of Boris Valet was protecting himself well, defending his position at the top of the general classification. Morocco showed composure. He allowed other riders just to slip in front of him, so he didn't get caught with his nose in the wind too soon. The green jersey of Milano, he was stalking Morocco. He knew the wheel he wanted. Kreda got the sprint started. Valet then opened up in orange, taking the safe option. Morocco then launched and was never headed. Milano stuck with him, but it was Morocco who made it look easy. And Valet celebrating third on the stage, but the overall race winner. Making it look as if he wasn't even breathing hard there. Couldn't blow out a candle, Jakob Morocco. It was a full-blooded effort, however. Sheridan providing the backdrop to the stage presentation. You can see the little bits of yellow there in the backdrop as well. Morocco winning the stage ahead of Milano. Valet in third spot. Tis Fazion has been one of the revelations of the race in fourth. German in fifth. Kennett, another one of the revelations. 2 stage victories for Kennett and 6 on the final day. That's a good way to close it out. Lopez, he's had a couple of podium spots and a nasty fall in 7th. Buglas was 8th. and it was then Kulik in 9th. The general classification, the one that matters the most, the orange jersey, the first ever Tour win for Boris Valet. It was then Ben Dybel in 2nd spot, followed by the Canadian Alexander Catterford. So a very international podium. 3 continents represented: Europe, Australia and North America. Techkov of Romania was in 4th. Williams managed to hold his spot inside the top 5. The green jersey, this was a battle all the way down to the finish. Just 2 points separating Juan Sebastian Milano and Boris Valet. And with 3 stage victories, Jakob Morocco moved himself up into 3rd position. And the stage presentations, first up, it is Boris Valet, who steps out onto the podium as the 3rd place finisher on the 7th and final stage. Juan Sebastian Milano in the pink colours of his team, Manzana Postobon in 2nd spot on the stage. But the winner, they save the best to last, don't they? It is Jakob Morocco. And despite standing on the top step of the podium, Morocco is still the shortest rider up there. He really is the pocket rockets. 3 hours, 7 minutes and 53 seconds for a stage of some 137 kilometres. It was slightly behind the quickest anticipated time of the stage, but it was still anything but slow. Milano was 2nd yesterday, but jubilant in 2nd. Today, he looks a little disappointed in 2nd. The big difference being yesterday when he finished in 2nd spot, it was his teammate, Jordan Parra, who was the winner. And for Milano, he needed that 2nd place finish to be able to secure the green jersey.
Top 3 riders of the stage: Jakob Morocco, Juan Sebastian Milano, Boris Valet.
3 riders we've seen a lot of throughout this year's race. Between them, 5 stage victories, the green jersey and the orange jersey. They have really been the dominant figures. Next up, it should be the presentation for the orange jersey.
Leader of the general classification. Let's welcome to the stage the winner of the orange jersey after stage 7.
You can start to relax now. Up until this point, Boris Valet, he got the red jersey for the first time at the end of stage 2. He's looked just a little anxious up on the podium. It's been a calm smile. This time, he can really enjoy it. It's a sleep in tomorrow. There's no racing. This is it. Boris Valet is on the honour roll forever at the Tour of Taihu Lake. And he's collected enough of those orange jerseys now to give one to each of his teammates as a souvenir. 6 orange jerseys, 6 riders on the team, 1 for everybody, including himself. A significant moment in the career of Boris Valet. 2.5 years since he last won a race, and that was a stage of the Tour of Wallonia that he won in the midway part of season 2016. Now the green jersey for the points classification.
Now we are presenting the green jersey, which represents the leader of the points classification. Let's welcome to the stage the winner of the green jersey, Juan Sebastian Milano from Team Manzana Postobon.
Next year, Juan Sebastian Milano, he won't be with Manzana Postobon. He's stepping up to one of the biggest teams in the world, UAE Emirates. And it's been a nice way for him to finish his stints at this Colombian squad. He went out the winner of stage 2 and 1. He won to the stage around Ben Hu. He won then across the climbs of Jurong.
Stage 1, stage 2 and the green jersey.
2nd on the stage today, 2nd on the stage yesterday. yesterday he showed just how selfless he is and valuable as a teammate as he helped Jordan Parra win the stage, potentially sacrificing his chances of winning this classification. A classy way to end his contract with this team.
有请运动员与颁奖嘉宾合影留念。
And here's an extra pair of hands with all the prizes that he's collecting. And he's just indicating here that you can keep the blue cuddly toy.
接下来颁发宁翔航空蓝色领旗衫。
Oh, no, he wants it. It was the other way around. Hang on, he was pointing to it saying, you hold that for now, I'll be taking that back with me.
2018第9届环太湖国际公路自行车赛湖体产业湖州长兴太湖旅游度假区。
Hope the locals have enjoyed the racing. It has been world class.
西马来自意大利日波维尼凡蒂迪洲际职业队。
Now we are presenting the blue jersey, which represents the best rider of the young classification. Let's welcome to the stage the winner of the blue jersey, Emerio Cima from Team Nippo Vinifantini.
This is Emerio Cima, as you would have heard from the venue announcer, the winner of the blue jersey classification for the best young rider. One of the youngest riders in the race at just 20 years of age. He's recently signed a 3-year contract with Nippo Vinifantini, the team that he's riding with here. And the family has had plenty of success in China this year. His brother was a winner of one of the tours in China earlier on in the season.
有请运动员与颁奖嘉宾
He's a good sprinter, Chima. He contested a lot of the intermediate sprints to take the time bonuses to wrestle this jersey off the shoulders of the Irishman, Cormac McGough.
接下来颁发森蒂克红色
And he won the
领旗
classification
衫
by
红衫代
5
表大中
seconds.
华最佳车手，山雨是中华之巅独领风骚，获得南京银行2018第9届环太湖国际公路自行车赛湖体产业湖州长兴太湖旅游度假区无星赛段红衫的运动员是柳建鹏，来自中国恒祥洲际队。
Now we are presenting the red jersey, which represents a rider from the Greater China region. Let's welcome the winner of the red jersey, Liu Jianpeng from Hengxiang Cycling.
Liu Jianpeng is the winner of the red jersey as the best Chinese rider in the race from Hengxiang Cycling Team.
获奖运动员颁奖。
Strategically, he nailed it on stage 5. Snuck into the breakaway. His nearest rival, the man who was leading the classification then, Liao of the Hong Kong team, did all he could to nullify the break. But Liu, he held on. He got second place in the intermediate sprint. He took a 2-second time bonus. And he wins this jersey based on less than the 1-second time gap. It goes down to the split seconds from the prologue that separates first and second position in this classification. It doesn't get any
接下来
tighter.
颁发感斗奖，获得南京银行2018第9届环太湖国际公路自行车赛湖体产业湖州长兴太湖旅游度假区无星赛段感斗奖的运动员是丹尼尔·哈布特米克尔，来自厄立特里亚国家队。
Thumbs up from Boris Valet.
And the final award goes to the most aggressive rider of the stage. Let's welcome Daniel Habjimikal from Eritrea national team.
有请颁奖嘉宾湖州市体育局局长
This is Daniel Habjimikal, who's been awarded as the most aggressive on the stage. It's a split decision, really, between he and Ulysses Castillo, the rider who was in the breakaway with him from Jali Bali. But the judges have awarded it to Daniel Habjimikal. It's been such a good race for the Eritreans. Yet again today, Natnil Tesfazion from that squad has finished inside the top 5 with 4th place. Ziga German, it was in 5th position.
有请颁奖嘉宾与运动员合影留念。
Eritrea really is proving to be one of the developing nations of world cycling.
好，请嘉宾稍事休息，有请运动员退场。接下来我们
We've
请
already
所
seen
有
a few
获得奖
Eritreans
项的
make
选手
appearances
再
at the
次
Tour
登
of France,
台。
and certainly not anonymously.
Now let's welcome
We've
back
seen
the
them
top 2
very
riders of
active
the
at the
stage,
Tour.
and the winners of the leaders' jerseys back to the stage. We have top 2 riders of the stage.
All the
Jakob
jersey
Morocco,
holders will be
Juan
now
Sebastian
making their
Molano,
way
Boris
back up
Valet,
onto the podium.
winner of the orange jersey,
Milano
Boris Valet,
and Chima
winner of the green jersey, Juan Sebastian Molano,
just
the winner
realising
of
that
the
they're
blue
required.
jersey, Emerio Cima, the winner of the red jersey, Liu Jianpeng, and the most aggressive rider, Daniel Habjimikal.
Morocco, the stage winner, he leads them onto the podium. He's done it 18 times as a stage winner throughout his career in this race. Boris Valet in the orange jersey, Liu Zhangpiang in the red jersey as the winner of the best Chinese rider classification. Daniel Michael, the Eritrean, the most combative today. The green jersey with Juan Sebastian Milano. And the blue jersey for the best young rider, Emilio Chima. It's champagne time, celebrations, the battle is over. It's time to enjoy the moments. And the one with the biggest smile on his face is the winner of the 9th edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake. It is Boris Valet who puts his name on the honour roll.